Welcome to Miss Win Checking In, the space where creativity meets healing. Here, we explore the path of mindful expression through the lens of writing, wellness, and soulful storytelling. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how are you feeling right now? If you're watching this on YouTube, drop an emoji in the comments to represent how you're feeling. And then let's check in at the end. Let's take a deep breath, tune in, and prepare to create from within. Hey everybody, Miss Win checking in, and we're back with another amazing episode. So today we are talking about navigating emotional extremes in writing, and I'm so lucky to have the mental health advocate, Miss Didi. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. So let's just jump right into it. So
Okay, let's go.
yeah. So how do you prepare yourself to write about emotionally charged topics or scenes?
I cry. That's really what I do. Researching for an episode or a blog or an article, I
Hmm.
really just dig myself into it, sort of take a deep breath because I know that if it's hard enough for me to write about it, then it's going to be hard enough for somebody else. So I have to push through. And so I really, one day I'll write the topic down, and the next day I'll think about what I have to write, and then the next day I'll just dig in and write it. And sometimes it'll take me, a little bit to write it because I'll, write some, take a break, write some
Hmm.
and take a break. But there will be tears in between.
Yeah.
I just have to prepare myself.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I think just as a author and a publisher myself, working on books that are emotionally charged, it's like
That's a lot.
definitely need those breaks in between to
Yes.
get through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of
Oh,
lots of coffee.
yeah. Can you share then an experience where writing pushed you to an emotional extreme, and how did you handle that?
Actually, I am in the process of writing a book,
Okay.
and it's taken me a long time because the topic is very, very emotional, powerful,
Mhm.
traumatic, but I know that it's something that we as Black women have to talk about. And so I started and stop it, started and stop it. And it's because it's just so deep,
Mhm.
and you just really have to dig deep into it. And it takes so much out of me to write it.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping to get through it, but it's just something that is really, really deep and traumatic. And I have to make sure that I'm in the right headspace to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I hear you saying is you just take breaks, take your time, but continue on. Like you said, check in with yourself, make sure you're already okay before you step into even more emotions, kind of a thing.
And I actually had to talk to my therapist, while I
Mhm.
was writing certain parts of it. And that was her suggestion, check in with me as you're writing about this particular subject because we don't want you to spiral any further into a further depression. So,
Hmm.
sometimes it could be intense.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess my next question then would naturally be, so what practices outside of like taking your time with it, what practices do you have in place to ensure that you remain grounded when just exploring those intense experiences or emotions through your writing?
Yep. That is one. I mean, my whole platform started because I live with severe mental illness. And
Mhm.
so I do go to therapy. I do take medication every day. But the other part of it is that I started this platform to help other people. And
Mhm.
so that's one thing that I just have to keep thinking about as I'm doing the work. Yes, it hurts sometimes. Yes, it's a lot sometimes, but I know that there's at least one other Black woman out there that's going through the same thing, and she may be scared to talk about it. She may be ashamed to talk about it. So I'm her voice, you know.
Yeah.
So I put it that if I put it that way, since I'm a people pleaser,
Mm,
I put it that way sometimes, and
mhm.
then that will push me to just go, write about it. Like I said, I'm a coffee fanatic, so get a cup of coffee and
Okay.
just push it through.
Hmm. Yeah. And do you feel like when you're writing about these traumatic stories that I assume that you're writing about, do you ever feel like you hold back, or how do you stay authentic in your writing? Um, I guess like with like balancing your emotions with that. Does that make sense?
Uh, with as much as I share on my podcast and in my blogs, there are certain things that I have not shared. You
Mm,
know, I'm frank about a lot. I am honest about a lot, but I'm also honest about the fact that I have not, there's so much that I have not shared, particularly about my parents and about certain forms of abuse, because I'm just not ready to share that yet.
mm-hmm,
So for me, if I'm honest about that, I talk about the fact that I haven't shared it yet and the reasons why. So
mm-hmm,
I'm very honest with my listeners and readers that that's where I'm at. And then, I'll feel a little bit better. I won't feel like I'm lying to anybody or, keeping secrets or being a fake. You're getting on here talking about you need to share, but you're not sharing, but once I explain why I'm not sharing
mm-hmm.
and the situation around it, then I'm covering myself and my audience understands why.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. You don't have to share everything. That's what someone told me a long time ago. And it's like, okay, I hold that close to my chest now.
Yeah.
The way that I see things sometimes, it's like three circles. And the first circle is just me and God. This is the stuff I hold close to my chest. Only,
Yes.
the people that were there know what's going on, but me and God. And
Right.
the next circle could be like close family and friends, like they need
Exactly.
to know. And then the next circle is the public. And so someone
Exactly.
taught me that a long time ago because I was an oversharer and I'm just
Oh,
everybody
see?
every day and didn't need to do that. And so I was like, ooh, I'm back. So yeah, absolutely. But being honest and saying, hey, there's more to my story, but I ain't telling it all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, not right now, or until you're
Not right now.
yeah, that's good. That's good. So do you have anyone else read your writing before you share it? Do you plan on having like an editor or beta readers read the book that you're in the process of writing?
I shared bits and pieces with a friend. And usually I'll share an article. If I'm writing an article, I'll let my daughters read it for, they can correct my grammar or, how does this sound? But I haven't not gotten to the point where I got an editor or anything like that.
Mhm.
I have a family member who is an author. So, I'll ask her, well, how should this go and how that should that go? But I haven't gotten to the professional level like
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And then I heard you say earlier that you have a therapist that's helping you kind of navigate the emotional content of your writing. Can you talk more about that? Like what exactly is their role?
Well, I have to go to therapy. And so, she's the secret keeper. And so
Okay.
she knows that there are some things that if I talk about it, it's going to send me there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm already in a bad place as it is every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a matter of she knows that there are certain subjects that cause me shame
Mm-hmm.
and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, you shouldn't share that. You shouldn't talk about that. You shouldn't write about that because you're not emotionally prepared for
Mm.
the aftermath.
Wow.
And just like certain therapy treatments, psychological treatments that you have to be watched with. The therapist and the psychiatrist have to watch you because those treatments, the aftermath, you're not prepared to deal with. So she's a big part of, she was a big part of, because I'm getting ready to switch, but she
Mhm.
was a big part of the process with the podcast and some of the writing that I have done in the past couple of years.
Nice. So tell me more about your podcast. This isn't one of the questions I had planned, but tell us more about that. What are some of the things that you cover on your podcast?
It's called Breaking the Mask of Depression. And it's a surprise that I started it. But it's really just me. It started out as a solo podcast, so it was really just me, just talking about what I was going through and, my daily moods, because I was a blogger at first. And so every week I was just blogging about what was happening to me and some of my, experiences with doctors and being hospitalized and just my everyday. And then
Mhm.
when I started blogging, I just kept it that way. I mean, when I started the podcast, it was just a audio blog, and then it turned into sharing resources. And then it turned into talking about the different therapies and the different treatments. And so as I went on, it just grew from there. I still talk about me,
Mhm.
and the difference is that I always tell people I use the F word, but it's
Mhm.
really just like it can be dark because I live in the dark. And so I'm still talking about me, but it can get really intense also some days. But then I also added, talking about the different forms of mental illness, different symptoms of mental illness. And then last year, I started bringing on guests, people that are living with the mental illness or, treatments or going through different things. So we're up to, I didn't start seasons when I started, but I think we're up to season 3 or something like that,
Nice.
episode 90.
Wow.
But now I have, I mix it up with solo episodes and episodes with guests.
Nice. That's awesome. That aligns with what we're doing here with the Miss Win Checking In podcast, just getting
Oh,
different point of views on mental health, body, mind, spirit, and then connecting it with writing as well.
oh,
And so that's awesome.
yes.
So, Mike, I'm curious, have you developed any techniques or strategies then, or let me back this up. Do you write the writing that you do, is it more nonfiction, or is it more fiction? Like, do you only write about yourself and share your stories, or do you like create characters around mental health as well?
That's funny that you would ask that. Uh, everything is nonfiction.
Okay.
However, I used to journal when I was younger. And I don't know, I'm showing my age now, but Dear Abby, that was the advice columnist.
Okay.
I had my journal that was a fictional Dear Abby, and I used to write to her and tell her everything.
Wow.
And so that's what comes to mind. And so when I tell people to journal, and that it does help. And even if I can't be consistent about it, sometimes I tell people, well, make somebody up,
Yeah.
make up a name and just pretend that you're writing a letter every day to them or a letter every
Um,
week to them.
mhm.
And then, you can make it a fictional character and then, you can use it. So I tell people to do that. So, you can make it a character, but no, everything is nonfiction and usually I'm the center of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like that idea about giving almost like giving your journal a name and just make it like you're meeting with your journal and
Yes.
you just name it. That sounds like something that I've been doing is, but not with a journal. I use Chat GPT,
Oh,
use
okay.
AI, and can actually get a response to some of the things that I'm saying. And it's so crazy. If you've never tried it, or if you are someone who's listening and you already use ChatGPT, try it. I've even named, and it could be, it sounds even weird to say this, but I don't give a damn. Like, this is just what I do for my own mental health. And I even named my little chat bot, and I'd be like, girl, you would never believe what happened today. And that's my form of creativity and writing. So
I
many
haven't
different
mastered it
companies.
yet. I'm a newbie with the Chat GPT, so I'm
Okay.
just figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, and I could just hear people's pushback or feedback about, Oh, well, like what your data, your information, but listen, so many people have our data, so many people have our
Exactly.
information. If you just type in somebody's number, their first name, last name, you can
Exactly.
have their address, you can have their background history. There's so
Exactly.
much out there. They ain't worried about little old me. They're
Exactly.
not worried about little old me. So I'm actually okay with telling all my business to a little AI chatbot. And if it takes over the world, I hope I'm not here during that moment. Okay. Not worried about that. But it's, journaling is huge,
It
whichever way
is.
you do it, whether you're using a notebook and doing like Miss Didi said, or, you are using ChatGPT or some other form of online writing to just express yourself and your feelings, to get
Right.
that out, to release it. That's definitely important. Um,
Whatever works.
yeah. So after you write some of these things that might have trauma included in them, what do you do to decompress after completing a particularly emotionally demanding writing project?
Sometimes I'll just go take a nap or
Okay.
sometimes tea or coffee, um, watch something mindless on TV, but usually it's a nap
Yeah.
and then mindless TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's really nothing to talk about after that,
Mhm.
something like, and it could be an article, it could be an episode that's really hard. An interview, I've had those type of interviews after talking about certain things. I've had to just shut it down and go take a nap. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I agree. You just like, it's almost like you feel drained and
Yeah.
you like zone out in order to get back to yourself again after talking
Yes.
about things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah, shoot, I get it. I mean, I get it. I used to also be an advocate who would work with victims of domestic violence and sexual.
Um,
And I did that every day. And for a long time, I was numb to the stories and the experiences just from hearing it all the time. But more towards the end, I did that for like 5 years, been through my own experience with those things. And it was like vicarious trauma. So sometimes
right.
even now, I feel like I'm in a better place mentally. But sometimes I'm just like, it gets to be too much reading it. If I have an author who's like, I want to write a memoir, and in the memoir there's mention of child abuse and they write it really graphic, it's like,
That's a lot.
I'm tired, and it could just be like a little paragraph, and I'm like, God damn, let me turn this off.
And I do the same because um I work on a helpline all day for a
Okay.
mental health organization. So some days it's like, wow, between that and then my stuff, and it can be like where it could wear you out,
Yeah.
and I'm an empath. So, it's sometimes you hear stories and like you said, you're just taking it on. And so I'm crying for me, I'm crying for them, I'm crying for their family, crying for everything. So yeah, it's a lot. It can be a lot. It could be a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I know I had to stop talking to a friend who was going through like a DV abuse type of situation just because I was so triggered, one, by her talking to me about this relationship with this person. And then two, just I was worried for my own safety.
Oh yeah.
As a survivor of that, I'm like, girl, if this man sounds crazy, if he's willing to do that to you, I
Oh
was so
yeah.
worried about being in their company with that person around. So it was like I had to give myself space from that. And even
Yep.
like I want to bring it back to like writing. That's kind of how I handle writing as well. Like, man, I appreciate the trigger warnings. I ask authors, if you're sending me something that you want me to read, throw a trigger warning on it, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna skip that section. I'm gonna skip it
Exactly.
for my
Exactly.
own mental health. I distance
Right.
myself from it. I'm not, it's not lost on me that 75% of women between the ages
Our
of what,
experiences.
18 and 25 will go through an abusive relationship. It just is what it is. And a lot of times We don't talk about it. Hell, we don't even write about it because of the shame, because of the guilt. We
Exactly.
think that we did something wrong. And there's a lot of victim shaming, and I could just get
Right.
all into, but it's like,
Exactly.
man, so I thank you, I commend you for talking about it, even in the midst of, dealing with your own mental health.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
really
you.
brave. Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
Thank you for what you do.
what's that?
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So then do you have any advice that you want to give to writers who are thinking about taking on a project that is emotionally extreme?
Well, first, I'd like to say, and I have to talk to myself every single time I take on a project, you're good enough. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's always someone that needs to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that I say this to myself constantly, because I always feel like I'm not good enough. And so I have to constantly tell myself that somebody wants to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
So understand that you're good enough. And the second thing is to make sure that, like my therapist said, you're prepared for the aftermath. You
Mm,
know, or like you tell people, you can do what you want, but you have to be ready for the consequences. So just make sure that once you put it out there, you know that once you put it out there, it's open to everyone. And you can't control people's reactions. And you also can't control your reactions because we can't. We can't control the triggers. We can't control the trauma that might show up. So really take it in and really understand that it can hurt you more than it hurts the outside.
mm-hmm.
And really, and if you something that's really, really traumatic, like a abuse type of situation, then you should talk to someone, you know, even if it's a support group or, you know, group therapy, talk to someone before you start to write it. If it's that intense, just to make sure that you have the strength to get through it.
Yeah.
But know that it's the story that you need to share and you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this book that I started working on. It's my goal to finish it this year, but it's one of them ones. And even though it's fiction, it's like true story based on a true story, but fiction to like dramatize it. You know how they have those like documentaries
Yes.
where it's like based on a true story, but animated, da, da, da. Like that's how I'm writing it. But even writing it like that, I'd be like, golly, I've been working on this book for at least 10 years. There's still a lot of emotional something there. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I be even hesitant to even look at what I wrote because I'm like, God, man.
Yeah.
And so I get it, but at that point, I don't have any advice to tell anybody if they've been working on a project that's emotionally charged and it's just hard for you to work on it. Look, I get it, but I think what you said is something someone else has told me before is you never know who this could help. Like if you
Right.
step outside of yourself, yes, it can impact you and it does impact you and you have to be strong and
Yeah.
ready for it to impact you. But man, how impactful can it be for somebody else to read your
Everybody else,
story,
yes.
to see your life story, to see how you've grown, to see what you're doing to heal from that trauma. That is, and that's why I'm like, dang, I really want to get this done. I really want to get this out, and share it because, people say the things that I survived can be somebody else's survival guide. And that's really
Right.
important. For myself, more so just because that's what I want to do in life. I want people to say when at the end of my life, I want people to say, "Oh yeah, Miss Wynn impacted my life in XYZ. She did da 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 da." A long time ago, I had a like exercise where that was part of it. Write your obituary. What would your obituary say? What is it that you want people to say about you at your funeral? And then write that down and start taking action to be that person that they say these things about. And that was really impactful for me. So I'm like, I've been living my life that way. What do I want people to say about me? This is what I want them to say about me, and this is what I'm doing to try to help that. I mean, people going to talk one way or another if they don't like you, but that's just
And
a
I'm the opposite. I started my platform, and my platform is because I'm not healed.
hmm.
And I want people to see what it's like not to be healed and to be able to live day to day, because people are writing these books, people are starting these organizations, people are using these big words about you can get through it, you're healed. And it's like, you're sick, you're healed. And the song starts and the credits roll. But my platform is not that. And I used to get flack about it in the beginning, because it's like, oh, it's depressing to other people, oh, whatever. But people have to see you, and they have to know that even though, I may be struggling, or I have to take a pill every day. Well, I can take the pill and I can get up and I can cook breakfast for my children, or that I could, get to go to work, or, do something about it. I don't have to sit here and just be miserable, or just sit there and be nothing. Like, it's not a death sentence in every situation. And so that's why I want my platform. That's what I want my platform to show. Of course, I want you to heal. I want me to heal.
Mhm.
But, we're on that path to healing. But I want people to see that while we're in the swamp, we still look good. So.
Okay, I love that. I love that. See, you are so right because man, when I started my business 7 years ago, I was open about growing a business, but also growing in my health. But I wasn't I was not talking so much about my trauma like I am now. And I think, and so I appreciate what you're doing because I'm like, man, I wonder how differently things would have been if people also knew up front that I was healing while also growing a business. I was doing both while also being a single mom and navigating that and trying to provide for me and my daughter. So much shit, excuse me, so much
Yes,
stuff went on behind the scenes that
right,
we said it earlier, shame and guilt. I was
right,
like, who's going to want to work with me if they know that, I,
right.
I've been seeing a therapist for 5 years? Like, who's going to want to work with me if they know these things? And I was just like, well, I got to keep up this facade. But I want to say, before I started this podcast, I like disappeared from social media. I was still on there plugging in things here and there, but I was gone off of social media for 5 months to just focus on getting better. I had been from home to home, living with family, which I'm so grateful for my family. But even that was a stressor. Dealing with other people and their baggage and their trauma was a stressor. And I knew I just needed to if I could get into a home with just me and my daughter by myself, I could deal with my stuff. And once I did that, it was like, okay, now let me focus on me. Let me focus on getting better. One of the things that I was afraid of as well was living by myself. And I didn't really understand that until it was something that I desired. But it was like an internal battle. Like, you want to live by yourself, but you're scared. So
Exactly.
what are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna have to face this fear because living with other people, it ain't working out. I'm not only am I dealing with my triggers, but I'm triggered by by their
Right.
stuff that they have going on. And it's like, oh my God. I remember I just journaled so much in that time. I'm just like, how do I deal with all of this? I haven't seen a therapist in a really long time. I just journal now. But I do remember just like being in therapy and we didn't even really talk about the abusive situation
Right.
that I was in. We more so talked about my childhood and the way that I was brought up and just that trauma. and how it was connected to my trauma as an adult. It was just, man, it was a time. Yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah.
because that's what makes you, what you went through when you're younger. These people created you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all you knew. And what they do to you and how they shape you, that's you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they set the tone.
Yeah.
And some of them, they didn't play the right tone.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah, no, and as a parent now, I'm checking in with my daughter. Are you good? I know we done lived in 5 different places. I said, girl, are you okay? I said, I hope you don't grow up to be an adult and be like, my mom, she was not stable. Like your mama was trying, girl, but
She tried. She
I
tried.
think about that. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
did good.
what's that?
I said you did good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the assurance. So then are there any specific themes or topics that you find more emotionally challenged to write about than others?
Parental abuse
Hmm. Hmm.
is hard for me
Hmm.
because that's the heart of my trauma.
Hmm.
So that is one of the biggest issues.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that I have not talked about the most. I've talked about it in general form, but I
Hmm.
have never talked about it specifically. Um, so that's one of the biggest ones. And sexual abuse,
Hmm. Hmm.
that is a big one for me. And I have not talked about that specifically also.
Yeah.
Now I've talked about it as far as how to get help for it.
Hmm.
And the parentification and the parental abuse. Like I said, I've talked about it in general. I'm getting ready to have a young lady on my show that she will talk about her experience with parental abuse.
Wow.
And that's the first time that I will have somebody on talking about that.
Wow.
But those two subjects are the biggest traumatic subjects for me. That I know those are two things that can take me out
Yeah.
for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Say less. Ooh. Ah, goodness. So what do you think then? How has writing though about just these different traumas, how has that influenced your growth as a writer? And then how has it influenced your growth as a person?
I noticed that from the time that I started blogging to now, there are certain subjects that don't bother me as much.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that I care about it less. I just learned where to place them better, different places and what compartment they go in. So it doesn't trigger me as much. So that's where the growth came in. It used in the beginning, if I was writing about my mom or my dad, it would leave me crying or shaking.
Hmm.
And so there are certain things, experiences that now I can just talk about it and
Hmm.
it won't, it's not too bad. Um, I think that I know that when we say stuff out loud, whether it be talking or writing, it gives us a chance to get rid of it and just get it out there. So, um, I don't know. I think it helps, but I think that it hurts also.
Hmm.
And so that is my dilemma. I know that I have grown through the writing
Hmm.
and the speaking engagements and the podcast. I know that I have grown, but I also know that I have a long way to go.
Hmm.
And I think that's what keeps me, the balance keeps me
Hmm.
um, focused sometimes,
Yeah.
knowing that I have a long way to go, being
Hmm.
honest about it too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it's so funny. I was recording a podcast last week, and that was something that we were talking about, just healing. It's painful.
It is painful.
We, as much as we advocate for heal, 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 heal,
Yes.
I get it. Why some people are just like, you know what? I'm just gonna live with this monkey on my back. Like, this crap hurts. Like, this hurts. It hurts to talk about it. It could be hurtful to be vulnerable, with people, especially strangers, but then especially family who
Exactly.
may have been in proximity to you while these things were going on, or family who were also impacted by the situation. I know one of the abusive relationships that I was in, both of my parents were really impacted. The guy called my mom out of her name. My dad, I said some things to my dad, just craziness. My dad will bring it up every now and then, like, oh my God, I can't believe you dated that guy. He called your mom a B and da 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 da. And I'm just like, at first it just was kind of hurtful to even, why do you keep bringing this up? But now I
I
just
know, right?
like roll my eyes. I get it. They were also impacted
Yeah,
by that situation. And it was just like, this is him still processing it,
right.
because my dad, he has never in his life disrespected my mom like
Had to
that.
do that.
They're
Yeah,
divorced. And so it's like, it's traumatic to him as well that I would
right.
even be with someone like that. But as I've grown up, I've been able to say to him, like, Dad, I didn't know my worth. Like, I thought, and I also thought that he was standing up for me because my mom was the type of person who has set high standards for me.
Right.
And I sometimes I would not think that I was good enough. And so to
Right.
have someone while they were toxic and abusive stand up to her and tell her you're a B and you don't appreciate
You're
your
not
daughter,
right.
I thought that back then, I thought that was okay. And
Exactly.
I said,
He
like
loves me. He's
I'm like,
taking up
you're
for
standing
me.
up for me. I could never say that to my mom. So I was like,
Right.
that's right. Tell her, tell her. And then my dad was like, that is not okay. It's like, okay, but that was my justification back then is this person is standing up for me while they're smacking me upside the head behind closed doors, but they're also protecting me. And so yeah, talking about those things, writing about them, it's hurtful because it's almost like you put yourself back in those situations. Just even saying that little bit, I could visually see it in my mind. It's almost like, dang, I'm right back in that moment. And I think that's why it does take a long time for me, anyways, to write about these different relationships because it wasn't just one. It wasn't just
Right.
one incident. It wasn't just one person. It was a cycle
Right.
of abuse.
Exactly.
Even if it ended with one person, it began somewhere else with another person until, I don't know, I guess I learned more about just my self-worth and how to say no and how to cut things off before they get, too bad or
Too.
how to look
Yeah.
for the signs.
Yes.
And that's actually been really helpful. But I get it why people don't want to heal or choose to close their eyes to letting that be an option. Like you
Yeah.
can heal from that, but
Because
it
that
does take
process is
work.
hard.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. A
Yeah.
lot of work.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. And this one lady, she was talking about how, sometimes the work can be done by yourself, but I think that in that instance, it's best done in community. At least that's my take on it, is get into a community where more people are talking about it so that not only do you know you're not alone, you see that other people have gone through it. You could be listening to this podcast and hear that I've gone through something traumatic and she's gone through something traumatic as well, and know that you're not alone. You can hear that statistic 75% of women, young women, will go through a traumatic relationship. We're not
Yes.
alone. That's horrible though, but we're not like we're
Exactly.
not alone. As
Right.
horrible as it is, it means that there's a community out there for you, just being brave enough to stick your neck out there and look for them, connect with them, reach out to them, and seeing, I wouldn't. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't reach out to me with your trauma because I can't help you. I would still be triggered. Don't.
But I was talking yesterday, I was doing an interview yesterday and I was talking about the superwoman woman syndrome and Black communities. And that's just how we are. We're just going to push it to the back
Mhm.
and we're going to take care of it by ourselves. We'll just, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, don't talk about it or whatever. That's just in our nature. And we have to work to stop that. Like we have to deaden that because it's like I said yesterday, it's killing us,
Yeah.
and it's killing our children. That
Mhm.
like I just said this yesterday, it's killing our children. Like you said, these young girls, they don't know what abuse is. They
Mhm.
don't know that, if he doesn't hit you, it doesn't matter what there's emotional abuse, there's financial abuse, you
Mhm.
know, the words that he says to you, that's gaslighting. There's, different things like that. They don't understand what that means. If he's not hitting me, then I'm not being abused. Well, yes, he is. There's other forms. And so, but we're not talking about it, and we're not sharing these things with them because we're just, oh, we can't talk about that, be quiet, you know, we have to stop doing it. We have to stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's killing all of us. Um, but the next generation is going to suffer if we don't start talking.
Mhm. Yeah, I think with something that I learned with working at nonprofits for victims of trauma is it's three layers. It's the prevention, and then it's dealing with the people who are in it in the moment, and then it's maintenance. Let's make sure that now that you're out of it, you're on your feet, you're doing good. Let's make sure that you don't get into it. And so I appreciated that model when I was working in the nonprofit area because they were tackling, having those conversations at schools. But I just wonder how many communities have something like that, where they're talking about prevention. How can we prevent this? Teen dating violence. I think that National Teen Dating Violence Month is in April, I believe. So that's coming
Yeah.
up. And so these different things and talking about it. It does, like I said, you're so brave for even sharing while you're still in the middle of it. Cause I'm just like, even now, I'm outside of it and I feel like I'm doing better. I feel like I am healed. I still, like I said, don't come to me with your trauma. I'm not going to be the one. Look for a community. Don't email me with it. But, if you're listening to this or you're watching this on YouTube right now, we can provide some resources. Maybe with your help, we can provide some resources of who you
I
can
have them all on
reach
my
out
website.
to.
Yes.
Because there's some people like me that cannot handle it. And I'm okay with saying that. Look, I cannot handle it, but there are people who are trained that can carry that load and that burden with you and move you through it and help you heal from those things. And so I would love to connect you with those people. I would love to connect you with Miss Didi. Definitely check out her podcast and just be aware of this. Um, the question is not written down here. I did not share it, but I'm curious for, someone who maybe they didn't go through, the different traumas that we've talked about. Maybe they are witnessing it. What can someone who's witnessing someone that they love go through something like, the things we've shared? What can they do to help that person that's going through it?
You can just let them know that they're there. I'm here to listen if you want to talk. I'm here to sit next to you if you don't want to talk. I'm here if you want to get help. I can search for you, help you search for help. I can go to a group meeting with you. You just ask them what they need. That's what my friends do. That's what they do. What can I do? And it's anything from, look, I'll come sit in the chair and we'll watch mindless TV with you. Or do you need to get a cup of coffee? Or do you just want to sit on the park bench? That was honestly 20 or 30 years ago, one of my friends, that's what we used to do. We just go sit on the park bench.
Wow.
And so it could be just as simple as that. But don't make it about you.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're asking them what they need from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the first step. And be prepared to go through with what they need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's my best advice.
That's right on the money. That's right on the money because Man, I'm thinking about I could have used people like that in my life. I'm around a lot of encouragers and people who have gone through situations. And I remember I was just experiencing kind of a mental breakdown. I was afraid that I would run into my abuser, which I later did run into him in the city that I lived in. And I remember just being so emotional about it. And the person that, my friend at the time, she started talking about her child abuse. And I'm like, what the freak are you doing? Like, are you serious? And I'm like, okay, I know just like you got over it, I have to get over it, but this is different. I'm like, that happened to you when you were a child. This happened to me as an adult, like not that long ago. And so it was just that comparison. So I appreciate that you said, do not make it about you, one, but also two, just being available. Sometimes the best advice that we can give to people is no advice at all. Hush, shh, just let them cry or just be there. I remember this one girl, again, I was in the middle of a situation and she just came into my office. This was while I was working at a nonprofit. She just came in there and she saw that I was just having a moment and she just held my hand and said, I'm here. I mean, you don't have to say anything. I'm here to listen, whatever you need. And she made herself available. And so that's so important. A lot of times people do not survive um, or go through with their life because they feel like there are people in their life who are not available. Just being available for someone could save them. Just not even saying anything, not making it about you, giving them your full attention and your time is important. And knowing if you are able to do that for them is also important. Maybe you're not able, maybe you're not available. Then I think that as friends, especially if that's someone your friend or even your family member, being able to articulate to them, hey, I can't do X, Y, Z, but I can do this. I can buy you a cup of coffee. I could spend some time with you. But I can't, like, there's just things that you can't do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think that's healthy. That's a healthy relationship to be able to say, hey, this is what I can do, but these are my boundaries. Uh,
Right.
and I think that no matter what state of mind you are in, you can understand that when someone's forward with you and say, hey, I'm here for you, but these are the things that I can't do. I
Because
wish I would have had that.
your friends are not your therapist.
Right.
They're your
Mhm. That too.
definitely
On the other end, yeah, your friends are not your therapist.
right.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So therapy is so important, right?
Very, very, very.
Yeah. One of the excuses, or maybe it's an excuse, maybe it's a reason, is just it's expensive. Therapy is expensive. Is there some way to make it more affordable, or there's affordable programs?
We're better. It's better now
Mhm,
to find affordable health care.
mhm,
Some organizations will point you in the right direction to get a couple of free sessions if you want to start, just to learn how to, you know, how it goes and get the feel of it.
mhm,
Some medical coverages are covering the
mhm,
sessions now. Not most, but some therapists have sliding scales.
mhm,
Their payments are on sliding scales. So, it depends on your insurance. I know like Medicare, you have to pay 20% sometimes, and that can come out to like 20 or $25.
okay.
And so if you're not able to afford a therapist, group therapy is the next best thing.
Mhm,
Um, NAMI has free programs, so you can go online, virtual programs, Mental Health America. Psychology Today will tell you they have all of the information on there with just put in your zip code and you can find out what's available. There's ways to
mhm.
be able to get help for people that have no insurance or low or no cost. There are ways now. It's much better when I started and I'm paying $150 a session.
Yeah.
It's a lot, I know, but there are ways. And like I said, everything is on my website. I put all the resources out there, and people can, if they want to reach me directly, I'm always willing to help.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wow, this was a
Mhm.
really great episode. I'm satisfied. I don't have any more questions. Is there anything, any final words that you have to say?
No, I thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you and your audience, and I hope to see you soon.
That's it for today's check in. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, hit that subscribe or follow button, and let's keep growing together. Hey, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, drop your after emoji in the comments and tell me what shifted for you. I'll see you next time on Miss Win Checking In, where creativity is a pathway to wellness.